Greetings, dear TV friend, and welcome to another edition of Women's Voice on Divine Mercy Radio Television. It is a program that comes up every Thursdays from 5 to 6 p.m. on the Divine Mercy Radio Television, where we discuss issues, we raise awareness, and also talk about barriers to gender-based violence, promote good practice, and also give proposals on how best we can handle issues related to gender-based violence. On today's edition of the show, we look at women in the media, particularly in Cameroon. We want to look at the challenges women face and also opportunities, as well as proposals as how they can gainfully occupy or position themselves in the media. So after this transition, I'll be introducing to you persons who will be joining me on set to have this conversation. Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, you're watching Women's Voice on Divine Mercy Radio Television. And today we are looking at women in the media. Oftentimes we've heard female journalists complaining or actually having some social media campaigns asking for more representation, asking for more opportunities. But today we want to find out, we want to discover what are some of the challenges these women in the media face, and also hear from veteran journalists who gave us an analysis of what the media space looks like and what representation women have so far, and equally give us proposals and avenues through which these women can strive. So I'm joined by a veteran journalist. We cannot talk about journalism in Cameroon without mentioning him. I'm talking about, he works with the Post newspaper. I'm talking about Budi Adams, who is well known for his very fine and strong pen. Good evening, Budi, and thanks for joining us on set.
Good evening, Joyce. Good evening to your televiewers. And I hope I will not leave here with a bad name according to women, because most of the times that I've come on set like this, I leave with women hating me. Meanwhile, I'm trying to make them to, move to the next level.
Definitely. We're going to actually see reasons with since you're trying to make us understand the realities on the ground. So hopefully on our part, we are not going to be very angry with you, except you go the other side of the page. But we are open for opinions and your stance or your opinion, and also ideas which can better. That's why we are here on Women's Voice, not only to condemn, criticize, but also to have possible solutions to the challenges which we'll be outlining here. I'm also joined by a gender communication expert who is also a PhD student in the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication from the University of Boya. I'm talking about Njema Emilienne, who is joining me on set this evening. Greetings and welcome.
Good evening, Joyce. Thanks for having me. I'm very pleased to be on set, especially when it comes to very sensitive topics about women, and when it has to do with women in the media. It happens to be one of my special areas where I'm working in, and so I think it's timing and we'll share a lot. I'm also pleased to be here with a senior colleague, a mentor. I think that we're going to have a lot of things to share, and that will impact our society that is watching us out there.
All right, thank you so much. The blend of guests, I'm sure it's not by chance. If you permit me, I will say I have old school and new school in the house, so that we always need to rely on the experience, the expertise of our elderly ones, so as to make informed decisions. Now, to our talking point here on set, we are talking about women in media. We're looking at the challenges and opportunities. I will start with you, Emilienne. Basically, your observation, how would you describe the media landscape in Cameroon as far as the female participation is concerned, or as far as gender is concerned?
I think that when we look at the representation of women in the media, women are underrepresented. That is the first thing. And I take into consideration data, because if you go back to the university, you get the enrollment at the department, you discover that we have so many female students enrolling in the department, but when you come to the field where they are expected to practice in the field, you don't find them. You don't find them, and that is the issue. What is keeping these trained personnel behind the scenes?
That is quite disturbing. I think this is one of the cries which these journalism trainers as well have been asking the question, what is the problem? At the beginning we have a lot of them, but in the newsrooms or in the media landscape they are nowhere to be found. What is your observation, Budi Adams, as far as women's representation in the media is concerned?
I wish to start by saying that to say that women are underrepresented. Who is representing them? Is it like some other person or a man has to push them to be, or give them more representation? Women have to rise up to the challenges. If you take, every year we take about 60 students, say from the University of Buea alone, that's Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, but you will discover that I think last time we had about 17 girls. That is for the month of July, August. We had about 17 girls and 3 boys. You know, at the beginning, you see, it's an all-comers job. Everybody wants to get in there. But when the time comes, you know, women don't take the challenge to take those jobs or the trades that pose a lot of challenges. You will know that I was just talking to you here about women would like to be speakerins, presenters and announcers. They wouldn't like to go to the field and actually sit and take challenging jobs like anchoring news. Journalism, first of all, is, we call a journalist a foot soldier. Another word for a journalist is foot soldier. But you know that even when we have female journalists, we say that it is a woman in a man's job. At the Post, we usually advertise jobs, but how many of them come to pick up such jobs? And just like Darren was saying, that women are unrepresented. When we advertise those jobs, we expect that women should come, and we'll give them some kind of, at the Post, we have a policy of giving what you call positive discrimination. It means that if a woman scores 14 on 20, and a man scores 15 on 20, we will take the woman. And we know that women are they easily adapt to situations. They can work with a team, they can take a lot of things, you know, being people who were naturally made to groom people. So they have that innate quality of adapting to situations. But you see, they will take up jobs where women will take up jobs where they would rather like to sell themselves than selling their job, sell themselves than selling the job. And that is when sexual harassment comes in. Because if you come dressed in a kind of a way and you want to interview somebody, he may feel that you are falling for him.
Before we get into the sexual harassment issue, we both agree here that women are underrepresented, which means that the number of women present in the media landscape is not compared to how many of them get trained at the beginning. And you also made mention of that as well. So what do you think that when you send job vacancies, women, very little women apply? What do you think justify or accounts for this underrepresentation on your part, Budi? I want to, first of all, Ian, what do you think is stopping them or bringing them back or not making the women actually apply for this job or be in the media?
Allow me to say that it is because women don't want to take challenges. if you see, even from the nomenclature, you have a cameraman. They talk about cameramen, and you hardly hear about camera women. I remember in our days when we started, when the job was so heavy, the equipment was so heavy, only the men carried the Nagra. So I am just saying that women should take up the challenge and stop saying that they should be given jobs. You know, most of them would rather move to what I call the noisy churches, where the speakers are rather put outside instead of put inside, and be looking for miracles. So you think I have worked for... I started working at the age of 20, and today I'm 57. I hope my family will not take offense for that, because they usually don't like me to talk about myself and any other person. But you earn the job. It is not given to you. You earn the job. Okay, I am editor-in-chief at the Post newspaper, where I usually say I shouldn't have been taken up or raised to the position of editor-in-chief. They should have rather raised the pay. Okay. So for working for 37 years, today I'm editor-in-chief, and you believe that a woman will go to church and pray that she should take my job. As she's praying that I should be cast down and she takes my job, I will also go and be praying that thunder should fire her mouth that she's using to pray.
Okay, unfortunately, Emilian is easy to get to respond to some of the positions you have given there. Emilian, I want to listen to you. First, Budi has I don't know, subtly justified, I don't know, says sometimes, first, women do not want to take on. The reasons why women are not represented, underrepresented, is the fact that they do not want to take the challenges. They want to take challenges, and then they are the journalism itself. Journalists are foot soldiers, and women are not ready to take these challenges. Do you think that is a reason why women are underrepresented in the media?
I really beg to differ with Budi, because there are a lot of sensitive things which he has just watered down the bridge, which I think he has not really put them right.
Okay.
Yes, because as an editor-in-chief, there are some in-house policies that do not allow women to take upon certain roles in the media. At times, you have an editor-in-chief who tells you that this issue is hard news, it's an issue at stake, and so women should not cover it. Look at the editorial policy, look at some of the programs in the media. You find women being drafted towards handling issues of kitchen programs, caring for children. You know, that alone stereotypes and stigmatize the women to think that other roles they are not permitted to get involved. And we also need to take into consideration the multiple roles that women handle. Some of those roles account for this underrepresentation. She graduates from the university, she's a journalist, she needs to get married, start giving children, you know, all of that put together, and now she's told that you can only be on this program, handle just this one because of the biological difference that come with you. That alone already creates a mindset in the hearts of the women and the young girls, and they believe that by the time I just earn this degree out of passion, I don't need to pursue it. Maybe I need an administrative job because this will confide with the other roles that I have. And then when you talk about women not dressing well, that is the account for their harassment, Budi, I beg to deny. Most at times you have editors-in-chief who assign a lady for a particular bit because they think that her stature will attract the news that they want to get. And sometimes editors-in-chief even sell out those girls. Go and bring me this news. I need it no matter how you have to get it. And she has to use all her tactics, at times even her body, to get the news for the editor-in-chief. So some in-house policies also account for women's underrepresentation. Because if I have to be harassed once, twice, maybe I'll not like the job anymore. I'll better pick something else. I, for one, I did all my studies and decided to be a pedagogic communicator, because I have been to the newsroom, I have been harassed, I have been to the field, I have seen the difficulties in the field, and sometimes you come back, Only the policy in the house, the in-house policies alone do not encourage us so that we can move ahead. Not that we are not competent. When you tell me that this news can be given to a man.
You are saying it and you are not saying it. At the level of the post, and I cannot talk without
reference
asking the Almighty to bless the soul of Francis Wache, the founder of the Post newspaper, who used to say, Joyce will remember when she, Joyce will not be sitting here, and we gave her the hard assignments. Joyce will not be sitting here if we had not been hard. I was just saying it before now.
That's true.
If we were not hard on her, because we gave her the let me say, the challenging assignments. I remember during one of the street demonstrations that started what we are living through today, we sent some interns, and they came back and told us that we shouldn't be sending them on such as. I said, no, before going, we gave you, some kind of precautionary advice that you must follow in order to go and get this. I am saying Mr. Wache would tell you, give a female touch to this newsroom. Give a female touch to this newsroom. What did he mean? Now we have trained so many. One girl has come back, and that is a girl that we are putting on proofreading, because when you listen even to her language, she challenges even me, who happens to also be a language teacher. I'm talking about Sandy Folemu. We send her to challenging, in fact, we put her on challenging assignments, and she comes back, because we are saying that it is the world would not be balanced if there are no women. There are certain roles that are assigned to women by nature. That of birth, childbearing. You have never seen a man at a maternity ward.
But should that determine the role?
That is what I'm saying, that they should take the challenges.
Media. That is my issue.
Okay.
First of all, I've said that you should go to end it. Go be a go-getter. Go and get the job. Don't say that women should be given top positions. So people should leave their top positions and give to
there's
women.
no issue of women should be given top positions. Women should be allowed to be at the same level.
Allowed by who?
Okay.
Allowed by competence. Do not undermine the competence.
Didn't I say that if we have a job and a man scores 15 points and a woman
that is
scores...
for the post.
That is for the post.
And I'm using the post as an example to tell other editors in chief.
The post should be ideal, though. The post should be ideal, though. But we are talking about other media, and we are seeing the implications in the number of women being represented in the practice.
And the taking.
Yes, which shows that there is a problem. We have identified that the representation is not adequate.
It's about 20 to 80 men.
That is the problem. And when you go to enrollment back at the university, you discover that there is a contrary. So what is the problem? That is why we are here. And we are saying that this issue of men undermining the competence also play a role. Editorial policies play a role. Buddy, please, I know that the post is ideal, but you agree with me that...
And I'm using this platform to challenge other news organs, other news houses, that they should allow women have their take.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Now, thank you very much, Budi. And we're still talking about this media houses. One of the complaints before, you must have heard about the Stop Sexual Harassment 237, which some female journalists have complained that in every newsroom or any media house, a majority of these media, women or these female journalists have been harassed either by the news sources, either by the media owners, or either by their editor-in-chief or their hierarchy in the office. And this is one of the reasons why some of them have chosen maybe to stay off, because they cannot stand this pressure and harassment, either from the news sources, from the media owners, or maybe their editorial bench. Budi, what do you have to say? Maybe the post is quite different, but these are complaints from journalists, female journalists.
Let me take off before you even land to say that the men who use jobs to give jobs in order to get a woman, those are weak men. You have to talk a woman into it. Maybe this is not the platform for that, but you have to talk to a woman into your life. It is not by exchanging jobs, because if you have the kind of person that I am, that is always hard on certain principles, the moment you commingle with a woman, the next time you are giving her a job, she might tell you that I'm tired. And me, I can't take that kind of thing. You know that.
Sure.
So it is, I am saying that you have that position of editor-in-chief. You can use the money that you earn from it to talk a woman into your life. You don't use, you give a job. If I give a job to a girl in order to get married to her, what do you think will happen tomorrow? We are working in the same place, and she knows that. So the moment any other woman comes into that place, she will know that there will be jealousy. She will know that I might also do the same thing. Oh, that woman has been recruited because of the job. So you see how you start putting kegs of powder on your own road or in the journey of the profession.
Yeah, Woody, I would say your case is ideal, and I can attest to that because I've gone through your hands through formation, and this was never an issue with your female interns or your trainees. But in other media houses, and thank you, I'm just rephrasing what you said, that any man or any media house that does that is a weak man, and it's not actually advisable, because you're not only killing your self-esteem, you're also killing the media house which you represent. One of the other things, Emilian, which some journalists maybe have also talked about, is sextortion, which you talked about earlier, where women are being sent on the field and expected to use all the powers that they have to attract news sources or to get the information that they receive.
Yes, most often I take myself for an example. I one time worked with a particular media organ, I don't want to mention it, and I was sent to the field. We had newspapers to sell out. It was a very big event. And the editor-in-chief with the publisher said, do not come back with any leftovers. What we need is the money. How you get it, we don't care. Just bring the money. We went to the field with my friends. We struggled to sell some. We could not sell, you know. And we found a situation whereby some top officials said, just dump this thing and follow me, and I'll give you every money that you need. You take back to your editor-in-chief. You now look between your job and the money. Which one do I save? Do I just go for this one night stand and I get the money and keep my job, or do I refuse this and go back and lose my job? Because you have been told that do not come back with the papers, do not come back with leftovers, but come with money. It places the girl now in a very vulnerable position, and they compromise not because they want to, but because they are forced to. And most often these harassments come verbally and physically. We even have online harassments.
Sure.
That because you are a female journalist, you're reporting a sport item and you're being mocked by male counterparts, they tell you that is not your role. You get it, Buddy? So most at times, and when you are faced with these challenges, you tend to back out. Just like I did, I had to back out. I said, no, this is not the place where I want to be.
Never back out. Always go.
I had to back out and then change strategy. Change strategy in the form of going back to school.
In order to train.
In order to train and better train. So that I train from experience. I don't just train.
And you train with some kind of gender bias.
And then I train.
Women should not accept to be sent to the field.
No. I train now, and then I tell them these are the precautions that you have to take. You have to be strong while you're in the field. You have to be able to tell your editor-in-chief outrightly that I'm competent enough. You don't need to cover me up. I'm going to do my job. Take it or leave it.
We'll come to that as to proposal as to how women can survive the media, can actually outstand or outshine in the media landscape. Budi Adams, she has talked about the realities. This is from a journalist who has been practicing and his experience which she has had, and several other female journalists have had the same challenge. So now there is this, you talk about women refusing to take on the hat news. I believe these days, I know of some reporters, I know some women, at first they said women is limited to sports, to maybe a kitchen and cooking, but I have journalists now. We have the examples of Kevin Brenda and also Cynthia, who is actually striving with sport reporting and other topics or areas which were considered only to be for men. But there is still this bias, Budi, in the newsroom. I want to find out how it is done at your place. Even though you say you assigned some women and they say they shouldn't be assigned, but we also have some journalists who have this courage and they want to cover these stories, but because there is some sort of subtle bias, not only from the editor-in-chief but from their peers, the male colleagues, who think that they are not worthy enough to carry on these investigations. So how do you handle these situations in your newsroom? Because I've actually attended a newsroom where a journalist was said, no, you cannot handle it. Let this man handle it because he's a man and then he can handle it better than you who is a woman. So as an editor-in-chief, how do you manage such situations in your newsroom?
There is a question of, I say that a man who hasn't certain policies in his life is a useless man. And I would say you should have some kind of amour propre, and you have the passion for the profession, and you have that kind of fulfillment, you know, self-fulfillment or satisfaction from the job. When you assign a female journalist and she goes out and brings back the shots that you really wanted, I think it is your pride. And well, for me, I believe that I will not have that moral standing to look at a female journalist in her eyes if I gave her a job just because I wanted to commingle with her. I prefer putting it that way. Mm-hmm. I am still saying that there are so many, let me say, so many platforms within the journalism field where women can, but let's take specialization. You have health reporting, you have, why not war reporting? We know about Christiana Amampu. Sometimes when some trainees come and you even ask them about those people who actually marked, you know, the journalism landscape in their reporting or in going out on their jobs, they will tell you they don't even know about Christiana Amampu. The long and short of it is that I don't see how women will go, girls will go into the school and they are trained very well, then they come out and they back out because it is men who are stopping them. I believe that before you go in, there should be some kind of a passion, and whenever you have that, I have asked several trainees, of course you have to do that because when they come, we try to tell them, it's like we behave like tellers, we cut the pieces and then try to piece you up into a nice dress. When did you start falling for the profession of journalism? Most of them is, when I passed my advanced level and I went down to the university, in fact I met a friend who told me that she wants to read journalism, so I just followed. If you see people who have stood in this thing tenaciously, even if they have to, you know, cut corners and then become pedagogues in the journalism training.
No.
Well, if you didn't have the passion for it, those are the people who drop by. Joyce, have you not been harassed? Why are you keeping on? So I'm saying you should don't take it, please. Say, oh, let's create some kind of is it an SOS number that you say, okay, 23710 yes, I am being harassed by somebody. We have said women should break the silence. We are saying it until we are even going down to say men should break the silence.
But we haven't refused that. What I want to say is that there's this lack of adequate in-house policies.
Yes.
Yes.
So let's take the challenge to the
Yes.
publishers and the promoters of
Yes.
TV and radio stations.
Yes, yeah.
The in-house policy frameworks, they are not good.
Away
They
from
need
that,
to be
I
revamped.
have a question. How many media houses, this goes to media owners, be it print and even digital online, how many media houses in Cameroon have gender policies? I don't know if the Post has.
I have told you that we have what we call positive discrimination.
Yeah, what would you
means
say
that-
falls under internal gender policies?
Internal gender policies.
But how many of these media organs
I believe
apply
that we are
this?
using this
Because
platform.
when
We are using
have-
this platform to challenge the others to also institute that kind of policy within their news organs.
Yes, because when
and
you
their
have
news
these
houses.
policy frameworks in the media organ and then you try to now empower the women that this could be the consequences for someone who has, you can shout.
And shout.
Yes, then they know that I have the upper hand. I can shout
Blow
anytime
the
I'm
whistle.
harassed, right? But if these in-house policies do not exist, I know of several journalists who have just left the job because of no contracts. You leave the university, you're looking for a job, you get one, there is no binding contract between you and your employer.
Let me
And
say
so you're forced
the
to-
men don't also have the contracts, but it is just being tenacious.
Who is being
And-
more vulnerable without the contract?
Both
No,
sexes.
I
Both
think a
sexes.
woman is more vulnerable without
Both-
a
both
contract.
sexes. Both
Joyce, you
sexes.
break me with that. Put it.
Both sexes.
Put it. You need to accept this.
See, you know, there are certain challenges now that make things even more difficult, both for the men and the women. You know that print, let me say, done a lot of things to conventional media.
Yeah.
It is just that it cannot, conventional media cannot be wiped out because of certain things that have to go only according to. For instance, I was telling somebody yesterday, where will legal notices be published? Where will bids be published? Tender calls for tender will be where will they be published? That is where we are on, surviving. It is a universal thing that has taken let me say, it's a global issue.
Sure.
That newspapers are not selling, whether you like it or not. But I am talking about tenacity, where the woman will say, okay, let me continue to work like that until something happens. And that is what we have been doing. We, the men, have been doing. In spite of the fact that women will, of course, I know the needs of the women are so many. I will not divorce journalism from the other aspects of life or other trades or other walks of life.
We cannot do that.
Yes, we cannot. It is. I know that women have more needs than men, but don't forget that one of the needs of men is to satisfy their women.
Very correct.
Very
But I want
correct.
to come in again and say that this lack of in-house policy frameworks.
We are going in for elections. I believe that can also be put as a policy in most, and in fact the government can regulate and then make sure that that policy works. To say that in times of recruitment, at least 1/3, let's begin with 1/3, because I know other countries in which the parliament is 50-50. I think Belgium started it, and so we can put that kind of policy and say during recruitment at least 1/3 must be. But the lawmakers must begin by first defining who a journalist. That is the root cause.
That is the root
That
cause.
is actually
Yes.
the root cause.
Which
that
of
is
it.
another
body,
topic
it
on
is
its own.
defined. It is defined like anybody who can read and write and can, it means that a medical doctor, a motor mechanic, a driver can decide and come into journalism.
And now
if
it
we
adds
start
to
defining
whoever
that
has
from the
an
roots,
Android phone.
yes,
Yes.
yes, can
And has
be-
data.
That
become
and
a
has
reporter.
data
Yeah.
that who can disseminate information.
And then to say that salaries, you were talking about contracts, that wages should be negotiated between the employer and the employee without a kind of what they call barème
Barème.
in French.
Yes.
There should be that kind of bar that is said
Yes.
that, okay, this is the target position where the minimum wage, it must not be below this.
And
because
that is
when
why
you
I
let
also
the-
say that
when
it should be
it's left-
monitored. It should be monitored by the regulatory body,
Yes, as well.
publishers as well,
especially
because we
publishers,
have,
because editors in chief
just have their functions.
It is their
because
job.
we have a weak
It's their
framework.
job.
I call
Yeah.
it weak because we don't see it being implemented.
Okay.
We have policies in the drawers.
It should go with
in
regulation.
ministries, and we don't see those policies being
Being
reinforced
implemented
in the field. And so most publishers, editors-in-chief, media houses take advantage of these journalists who are on the streets looking for jobs. I think that is where this paradigm shift is coming in.
Emilian, I am a member of the commission or the convention on journalism, a convention on journalism and related trade that we sat for about 3 to 4 years, and then came out with a document that had to be signed and it had to be implemented, where we said the that is any journalist who is knocking at the gate should be paid at least 150,000 francs in the beginning. But you know, the powers that be have never implemented that. So I am talking also about regulation, which means and policy. Okay. If we have those things and we say, okay, journalists should be paid at least 135,000 francs at the beginning, then she can rise up in her career and then get to better levels. It will help. Right. If we say that, okay, 30% of, if you start a radio station, 30% of the personnel must, or the staff must be female. It will at least, you know, sending the roots down.
Okay. Please, Joyce, can I add something?
Sure.
Okay, I think that you just mentioned of an organization, right, where you belong. I think a plethora of all these organizations has weakened us to have a very strong media institution that can represent us adequately, because we have so many of them. Because we lack one firm, strong institution that represents all of us. I think that is where we have a problem. Because had it been we have that, you will see that our yes will be yes, our problems will be channeled through one person, and the feedback will be positive. But when we have a plethora of so many of them, we will also have so many people infringing and distorting everything that we are trying to build.
Emilian and Joyce, I think these things are deliberate. The lawmakers and policy makers do these things deliberately, because just the definition of who a journalist is, I have already said it. And when you say that if we have a very active syndicate, like we have the Nigerian Union of Journalists, you know, if they say that they are giving a black art on this institution or this personality, all of them will respect it. But you know that if you do that in Cameroon, the next person will the person who was your next neighbor will go behind the house and then give, you know, a spotlight to that person. You think that the 300 and something or 250 media organs in Cameroon were actually genuinely created? It is the lawmakers and those the powers that be. They see that, okay,
and
the
they call
press,
it administrative tolerance.
No, it is actually divide and rule. because I know ministers who have set up, I will not call their names, who have set up news organs in order to push their agenda. Because they know that, okay, the press should call the authorities. In fact, the press should be, one of the rules of the press is to hold the authorities to account. And the moment you start doing that, they will create other news organs. Even the political parties, how many of them are there? 300 political parties for 225 million people. You know, it is the lawmakers and the policy makers who are doing these things so that there cannot be one journalism union, trade union in Cameroon, so that they can have their way.
Unfortunately. And Emilian, this is also one of the things. I've happened to belong to another network of female journalists, and whenever they, some of them came up with this stop example, this Stop Sexual Harassment in the Media 237, they had a serious backlash by some other female journalists. And I'm just trying to paint a picture to reflect the fact that once you start blowing the whistle about a particular situation, and then you seemingly have a one voice, what they try to do is penetrate the system and distort it. When we started this campaign, we had male journalists who told us that you people are making that noise, but you have some of you female journalists who are actually attracting this harassment, or even harassing the news sources, or trying to trivialize this situation, just to paint a picture of this division, which actually makes it difficult for women in the media sometimes to actually have their voices heard, which is quite challenging. And it's quite unfortunate that we find ourselves in this situation.
I'm telling you, but most of the times I'll agree with you that a woman's enemy is a woman.
Unfortunately.
Definitely.
Unfortunately. Definitely. Because we are all affected by the same problem, and we think that the solution cannot be universal.
Okay.
Because we all, Budi just said that we should be whistleblowers, we should say it the way it is, but at the same time, the African background,
I even said that you should shout.
Says that do not shout.
Harasses you.
I'll try to give you an example. We have seen situations whereby a child is raped in the house and the mother tells the child, don't shout, don't allow the neighbors to hear. You get it? Yes. It is the same thing
in the media house.
Same thing in the media house. I'm being harassed. Maybe I tell a senior colleague and she says, it's their thing, it's just normal. You either agree or you leave it.
Normal.
They try to normalize it. Instead for them to help you to blow the whistle just the way you said, but they try to normalize it, and they tell you, no, men will always be polygamous, men will always want to harass, men will always want to.
This is how this about
check your dressing code. They tell you to check your dressing. Now maybe it is the way you dressed. A person like me, I have everything put together. How will I dress and Budi will not see me? How do
and Budi has never harassed you, though.
So the thing has to do with self-discipline now.
See,
yes, we are not disciplined enough.
The question I always ask Emilienne is the fact that since these men tag the women that sometimes is the way you dress, I ask the question, how many men have been harassed by female news sources or female bosses because they either sacked their trousers or they had their chest open?
That is the thing.
That's the question I often ask Budi.
Well, we have said that there are female journalists who harass news sources. We have to accept that. Talking about certain values, and we say the African man or the Bantu man or the Bantu woman doesn't shout. No, let's look at the virtues and the values that actually promote and develop our society within the African context. And then we also look at the Western concepts that promote and deliver the goods to the society. And a blend of this will keep us. The things that are bad about our African culture, let's dump them. The things that are good about our African culture, let's promote them. Then make a blend with the Western concepts or Western understanding, Western campaigns, and then put them together. I have said that there is something that happens, or that happened. A story is told of some NGO that went to one of the regions and then made boreholes for women because it discovered that women were traveling long distances
to fetch water.
Because it is believed that it is their role to fetch water and not the other way around.
So the NGO came and then put boreholes closer to the houses. But they came back in midterm to evaluation and discovered that those women were still traveling long distances. And the women said that, no, you are bringing a new culture. How do we discuss even our issues? Okay. So we are saying that even when you are going into we have talked about minority issues, gender issues, and gender minority is there. Try to learn the culture of the people so that what you are bringing in new can also be accepted.
Okay.
The female journalists, senior journalists, colleagues who tell you that don't shout, please shout. And if it comes to that, bring it to the post. We'll shout together.
All right. Thank you so much, Budi.
Budi, before you go, Joyce, this issue of hard news, issues at stake to be covered by specific persons. That is something which I think, Joyce, we really need to talk about.
Yeah,
Sure.
we will talk about
Yes,
it.
we will definitely talk about, but let's have this short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, you're watching Women's Voice on Divine Mercy Radio Television. And today's talking point, we are talking about women in the media, challenges and opportunities. We've had a beautiful conversation here. We have actually all agreed that women are highly underrepresented in the media landscape. And also talk about the challenges which they face in the media landscape. In the media houses, we have issues of unequal pay, sexual harassment, sextortion, and a lot of bias in terms of who covers what bit and for what reasons. And again, we also had a Budi who has challenged the women not only to wait for this position or to wait for it, but to actually accept to take these difficult tasks and challenges or reports so as to have their say or have their stand in the newsroom. So we'll continue today's conversation. If you're just tuning in, you're still watching Women's Voice. So Emilian, before we had the break, we wanted to talk about the assignment of particular bits of some bits to particular persons. I think I'll just allow you to continue with your point.
Yes, when I did my master's, it was based on roles and assignment in media practice from a gender-based approach. And my findings revealed that most of these assignments that are given to women, there are some that are termed issues at stake. Let's say there is a breaking news on something at our Unity Palace. They tell you cannot pass around there now, Papa. They will tell you that is an issue at stake. This is a person to cover that beat. Irrespective of whether you have the facts, whether you're competent or not, they tell you this beat belongs to this person. And sometimes they tell you because of your biological difference, your gender, you may be too vulnerable to hit the knot the way you are supposed to. Assuming for you, not giving you that opportunity. And what I really want to say is that it is high time for women to be their own voices. Sure. It is high time for women to publish their thoughts. It is high time for women to go deeper. Women need to come out of the box. Do not think that you can only engage in being a reporter before you can make it. If it is not favorable around the reporting line, become a publisher. Publish everything. Be it sexual harassment, be it the soft news, be it the hard news, be that strong publisher. You get it, Joyce?
Yeah, I'm getting
Yes. Go into research, do a lot of things. There are a lot of things that we can do to be at the spotlight.
Sure. That is why we are here. Budi, you wanted to add something before I continue?
I usually tell people, both Joyce and Emilian, you know that a lot of knowledge is hidden in books.
Yeah.
Sure.
Your generation today is not reading.
Yeah.
Because you can get a lot of things just by reading. Many of your colleagues have come to me when they are given a research topic, and they say this. One of them was, social media and journalism or whatever. And they say, but this thing is just new. And I say, instead, that is the thing that will make you get. Because when you go and do your research, you come, even during your defense, you are teaching your supervisors.
Sure.
You are teaching your lecturers.
You're bringing in new knowledge.
They may even, I usually say that they may even, in order that you may not bring shame onto them, they will not ask you so many questions because you will be challenging them.
Yes, because they themselves will know that you have gone in depth.
Yes. So choose a topic that has not been researched on so much. Then you have specialization. I think that is a way we're talking about opportunities. That is a way. I want to link it to the topic of research where you will get a hard research topic. If you choose health, for instance, and you talk to medical doctors, you do a lot of reading, asking about this particular illness. We had recently, is it monkeypox? Something that has not been there. In fact, I knew about monkeypox when we were still, when I was still a teenager, and it is coming back. So you go into health, specialize in health reporting, specialize in technology and science, specialize in the environment, climate change and all of that. Specialize in education reporting. I don't want to call the name of a female journalist who is at CRTV here in Boya, and education is her beat. When that kind of situation comes on, specialize in conflict. When there is a situation like that, even your editor-in-chief is not versed with that particular field. So what will he do? He will assign it to you. Okay. So this is a way, these are the opportunities.
These are the opportunities.
But not to cut you short, like when I thought of what to research at the PhD level, I decided to look at women in conflict. Not just conflict, but the role that women play to escalate conflict, which is different. Because most of the times, most media organs, they project women as being vulnerable, victims, casualties, but they didn't look at what are the roles that women also play during conflict to enhance this conflict, to sustain it. It was a different angle on its own.
It's good you have brought this topic. I'm just coming back from a training.
And portraying how media itself,
from a workshop.
Yes, how the media looks at it.
About, the minorities, the rights, minority rights, gender rights, and all of it. And the research that was done by the facilitator said the role of the woman in those days was caretaking and caregiving in those days. Yeah. When their men went to war,
they stayed back.
And they had to become breadwinners by going to work in factories. And in working in factories, when the men came now, they were so immersed in factory work that the men had to learn from them in order. So that is where the competition for breadwinner and caregiver came in. And that is how women, in fact, that is how women have evolved too. So today, I think in those days even, the women used to, I don't know how to call it, load the gun. And then give to the men. Yes.
Today we even find women who are suicide bombers.
Front. Though charging the guns.
Today we find women who are suicide bombers, who are in the war front. But how does the media cover it? Is another problem.
We are encouraging. If the woman can be a suicide bomber, and you think that because you have been harassed, you don't want to go and practice journalism, it means that woman will. I'm not taking.
Okay. Background said we're just talking about the opportunities which women in the media can take. Budi has emphasized on specialization and giving the different areas which women can strive in the media. Once those of you watching us, I think you can take. And Budi, I think you have a lot of your trainees who are picking up these different specializations, which is actually working. And now, Emilienne, I want you to talk about what are some of the ways which women can stay safe amidst these challenges. How can they actually survive or handle? You've already talked about the ways they can address. You have to report. You have to speak out about this harassment. But again, in the media house, how do you stay safe away from this harassment, away from the sextortion, away from this different vices that occur in the media house or in the editorial bench?
Before you take a job, insist to see the in-house policies.
Sure.
That's the first thing. Also ensure that you get a contract.
Okay.
Don't just work blindly.
Sextortion is not written in house policies.
We are no, Buddy. Let me know my in-house policies and see if I can adapt to it. First, at times we start working without knowing the policies, and then someone just whispers to you that you have to do it is the in-house policy, and you begin to ask yourself, where is this in-house policy that I don't know of? I need to see the in-house policy. I need to read my contract and understand it better. You get it? Before I engage. I should not get engaged, then I start crying foul.
Okay, but what Buddy has just said is a salient thing. You know, we have some written policies and unwritten policies. Yeah. Which actually, so in this case where you happen to have the written policies and then there is an unwritten policy, like Buddy said, sextortion is never in a policy, and then you happen to find yourself,
and that is why when it gets to sextortion, you have to shout.
Okay.
Blow
you
the
have
whistle.
to shout.
Blow the whistle.
You have to blow the whistle. Say it the way it is. Do not compromise, because when you start compromising, you compromise
right to the
end,
yes.
at your own detriment. Thank you so much, Emilienne. Buddy, before we draw the curtains of today's edition, we have talked about the challenges, and you have continually challenged women to take the bull by the horn, to take on the tough jobs and the tough tasks in order to have their stamina in the media landscape. What will be your concluding message as far as this topic of discussion today is concerned?
Women should not let themselves down. They should not give themselves cheap. First of all, I should observe that the good book says blessed are thou amongst women. That I was the only cock with two hands inside here.
Yeah.
And well, you saw that I didn't allow you to browbeat me or to make me to be shy. I wish to advise that women should not want the milk and the meat at the same time. Because if you want the milk, let the cow be alive. If you want the meat, they will kill the cow and you will not have the milk. So they should choose and have one of them. Because don't give yourself in, don't bend over for a man just because you want a job. If you start hard from the beginning, there are certain people, you know, sometimes you start a friendship through a quarrel, you had a fight, and then you turn out to be very good friends. So when you are hard in the beginning, that man knows that you are hard, and when there is anything, an assignment, a hard assignment, he will send you the woman.
Definitely. Do not bend over to secure your job. Be hard from the beginning and stand your ground. In that way, you can continue standing and standing tall without necessarily compromising. And to conclude with you, Emilienne,
I want to say that female journalists, be your voice. Stand up for the truth. Be your voice. Think of other avenues to change the narratives.
Okay, actually think of other avenues to change the narrative. And also, it is with this concluding phrase from both speakers who joined me on set today. Be your voice, female journalists, to be their voice. And also, female journalists, do not bend over to secure your job, and make sure you take up those challenging positions in order to be fully represented in the media. It is on this note that we draw the curtains of today's edition of Women's Voice. You can catch a rebroadcast as from 3:30 p.m. on Sunday, or you go to our Facebook page, Divine Mercy Radio Television, and you can watch the streaming, and also go to YouTube, DMRTV Online, and you should have today's edition of Women's Voice. We keep you in the company of more interesting programs coming up next on Divine Mercy Radio Television.